on before I forget. Okay, so this is a sharing kind of information session. So you guys can ask me questions via talking to me, or you can send me a message through the chat function. I know that we've got about, I think, 50 or 60 people that have got the ticket. So I don't know how many we're going to get on tonight. Putting in about 11 people at the moment. So I'll just wait another few minutes and then I will I'll start the presentation. And as I said, you can ask me questions throughout, and I'll happily stop and answer any questions that you guys have.
That's great. Thank you.
No worries. Just one more minute and then we'll get started. All right, I may just stop every now and again to let people in as they come through. So I'll just give you a bit of a background on me. So I'm Kelly Berger. So I run Bookkeeper Support, the Facebook group. I also run the website and do all the training and run the retreats. Bookkeeper Support is only small at the moment, but I'm actually in the process of switching things around so I can do a lot more with Bookkeeper Support next year. And one of those things will be supporting and mentoring and supervising and all those kind of things that you guys as newbies will need. I don't know how that's going to look at the moment. I'm still kind of working that out, but yeah, so that's on the card. So I've been in practice. I've got my own practice, bookkeeping practice, and I've been in practice for about 11, 12 years. I've got staff who work for me. At the moment, I've got a couple of brand newies, and you know, I'm training them up in all of the clients. So I've literally thrown them in the deep end, and they are swimming extremely well. But yeah, so I've been in the industry for 10 plus years. I've got a background in all sorts of areas, like workers' comp, and you know, I've been in many different jobs along my career. So courier driving, limo driving, work cover, internal sales, external sales, Telstra sales, all sorts of stuff. So I've got a lot of a big background. My biggest start in this industry was probably when I was working for an accounting firm, and I did, you know, just basic bookkeeping and basic tax returns. And from there, I went on to be a office manager for a finance company for about 3 years. So that's where I did all my management training. Well, I had to, because I was office manager. I did a lot of people management. I did a lot of task management, cash flows, budgets, all that kind of stuff. So that's where I've learned most of my stuff, and I do incorporate it into what I offer to my clients. Education, I suppose. I've got a diploma in finance services, so that would be, you know, bookkeeping and accounting now, so it's a diploma of accounting. And then I've got a diploma in project management, and I've got my graduate certificate in business administration and my graduate diploma in business administration. So that's just about me. I'm a bit of I like to learn kind of person. Anyway, So we're going to get into it. So this is an introduction. So I'm covering off as much as information as I can so that you guys understand what it is that you need to know to get into the industry, or whether you you know, the ins and outs, you know, running your own practice, all those kind of things. So we're going to cover a whole heap of things. As I said, please do ask questions, whether it be by chat or if you want to speak, by all means do that. We are recording, just so that you know, and we will yeah, we'll get started and see where we go. Okay, so my trusty computer's going to work. So obviously a lot of you will understand that the minimum requirement to get your BAS agent license or to do bookkeeping would be your Cert 4 in bookkeeping and accounting. So it covers things like your processing payrolls, financial reports, spreadsheets, you know, design and produce business documents, financial transactions, perform financial calculations, set up and operate accounting software, all those kinds of things, and so much more, especially if you go into the diploma. So as you know, there's a lot of different accounting packages. One of the biggest things I say is don't use it until you need to. Don't learn it till you need to, because there is no point in going through and learning Mild, Xero, QuickBooks, Reckon, all of those if you don't need to use it, because you're just going to overflow your brain. So I tend to stick to one that I'm requiring for a client, and then if I need to learn another one, I'll learn another one. Like I've got clients on ServiceMate, Simpro, WooCommerce, gosh, we use so many different add-ons to them. Xero, Mile, QuickBooks Online. I've used Reckon One. I've used Sage One. I haven't used FreshBooks. I think that's one of the ones I haven't used. Cashflow Manager I've used. NetSuite I've used. Zoho I've used, but not the accounting version. Wave and Reckon Hosted. So I've used most of those for different clients at different times, but my primary ones are Xero, Mile, and QuickBooks Online. Okay, so the Tax Practitioners Board, that is who our regulator is. That is who we are required to go through and deal with on a regular basis, because they're the ones that regulate our industry. So they've got a whole heap of resources and a whole heap of information. I'm just going to go back here for a second because I want to show you. Let me go new share. Well, now I've got to go find it. Isn't that always the way? You got to find something and you can never find what you want because you've got too many windows open. Okay, so share. Okay, and move this. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I've jumped onto the Tax Practitioners Board website. Move everything out of the way. I just wanted to go through what a BAS service is, and this is where people get really confused, because when it comes to registration, there's a lot that you can't do if you're not a registered BAS agent. So that's your 1,000 hours in your Cert 4 basically, and then you have your insurances and all that, which we'll go through. You can, so a BAS service, so you'll see here, this is the service that you're providing. And this is going to tell you whether it's a BAS service or not. Now, they have upgraded this website in the last week, so I'm not quite sure where I'm kind of headed on this. I've just found it and I'm going to run with it. But yes, they have updated it. So we've got on here, so applying to register for an ABN on behalf of a client is a BAS service. Installing computer accounting software without determining GST default codes. Okay, so if you're setting up someone with GST, and you can't set up those default codes, they have to automatically be in there and they have to be correct, which is really hard to do when you've got things like, say, Vic Roads, where you've got 3 different codes, 3 different codes that you need to add in there for that, because only part of it's GST applicable. Part of it's a non-taxable and part of it's GST free. So you really have to understand that when you're doing this for a BAS registered client, so a GST registered client, there's still a lot of stuff that you can't do. Coding transactions, tax invoices, transferring data, where you have to interpret the GST. So if the GST is not 10% across and you haven't already got the default GST code, you can't technically process that transaction. If it doesn't require an interpretation or a change of GST, or if you're working with a client that is not registered for GST, then you can code it, no problems. Now, understand this is for a contractor. It is different if you are an employee. If you're a casual, part-time or full-time, you don't have to abide by these rules. Okay, so if you are a contractor, you do have to abide by these rules. Okay, so confirming figures to be included in a client's activity statement, you can't do that. Completing an activity statement on behalf of the entity or instructing the entity which figures to include. This includes using their portal to lodge it as a contractor is illegal. Now, we see a lot of people doing that, and it is illegal. You are not allowed to give them the figures. You are not allowed to use their portal to lodge it if you are a contractor. As an employee, no problem. No problem at all. So general training in relation to using the computerized software, not a problem. You can show people how to use it. You just can't advise on any GST. You can do a bank rec, that's fine. Again, entering data without involvement or calculation of GST, absolutely fine. Providing advice about or confirming the withholding tax for employees, can't do that, it's a BAS service. Services declared to be a BAS service by way of legislative instrument issued by the TPB. So when we were going through JobKeeper and cash flow boost and all those kind of things, we as BAS agents didn't have the rights to deal with that. They had to make a special legislative instrument to actually allow us to do that. So, you know, we weren't allowed to do that at the beginning, even though we were, because we had no guidance whatsoever of what we could and couldn't do. So they just went, yep, you can do it. So worked out fine. Preparing and providing an income statement that may include reportable fringe benefits and the reportable employer super contributions. Again, that's a BAS service. Registering and providing advice on registration of GST or PAYG. You can't do that either. Services under the super guarantee that relate to payroll or payment to contractors, you can't do that. You can't advise on their super liability, including calculating. Again, a BAS service. Advising about the offsetting of late payments of super. Again, a BAS service. Completing the late payment offset election, BAS service for an SGC statement. Representing a client with the ATO, again, it's a BAS service. Being the authorised contact for the ATO in regards to anything to do with SGC, again, is a BAS service. So advising about claiming an allowable tax deduction for super. I don't know why that's not a BAS service, but it isn't. Or the super caps, and the effect of exceeding those super caps. Most of that stuff is available on the ATO website, and you can just show them anyway. Salary sacrificing and salary packaging, it's not a BAS service. Advising about the fringe benefit laws, all good there. Advising about and preparing lodging income tax returns. That's a tax agent service. I wouldn't be doing that. Yeah, I'm surprised that's even on there, because that should be a no, that should be an accountant's role, or you can do it yourself if you're just doing your own taxes, that's fine. So again, superannuation, TPAR reports, also a BAS service. Sending a TFN on behalf of the client is a TFN, is also a BAS service. So STP, payroll, all that kind of stuff. You've also got to be a BAS registered agent. So as you can see, there's not a lot you can do as a non-registered agent as a contractor. So we're just going to go back to, any questions about this? Yes, if you are being supervised to get your hours as a contractor, absolutely you can do all of these things. Anything that's a registered BAS agent service, if you're being supervised to do them, then yes, you can do them. That's no problem at all. So it's either supervised or it is based on or being registered. All right, so we'll get back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so when you're doing books for people as a contractor, you need insurances. So your standard ones, which I'm sure a lot of you will know, your public liability. So if people are coming to you, if people are dropping off paperwork, you know, if they fall down your front step of your house, you need to be able to cover them. Okay, so that's really important to have public liability. Professional indemnity is a must-have that you can't be a BAS agent without it. The TPB won't allow it. Business and vehicle and property insurance, obviously, if you've got your own car or whatever, you can put it under the business and claim the insurance on that. Income protection, so basically if you get sick or injured, it gives you a payout over a certain amount of time, but be careful of them because some of them don't kick in for 6 months after you've had the injury or sickness. So just be aware that some of those are not yeah, just watch out for the fine print there. Workers' compensation, so if you have staff, so you must have, if they earn over, in Victoria, I'm not sure about other states, but if you pay that employee more than 7,500 per year, then you must have work cover for that person, even if they work from home. You must have it. Okay. So obviously there's a heap of associations available. I'm happy to have a chat with you about the differences between all three, if you like. It's basically ICB probably have the best when it comes to reference material and checklists, closely followed by ABN. Now, ABN allows you to do the ABN BAS program, which means you can contract and run the BASs through them, but they do not do payroll or SGC. So you still will not be able to do that side of things until you are a completely registered BAS agent, or you are able to get a supervisor that will supervise you in payroll. That's probably the hardest thing because supervising in payroll can be an absolute nightmare. I'll be honest, I hate payroll. It's getting far too complicated, and you're better off doing a diploma in payroll if you really want to go down that path. Okay, so the job opportunities as a new person. So in this case, you want to go for anything in the financial sector or anything that has finance as part of, you know, of what the role is. So, you know, you can be, I started as a receptionist for an accountant, and then I got into bookkeeping there, and then I got into taxes. And then after taxes, I got into office management. So it gave me a real well-rounded kind of understanding of the financial sector. So you kind of want to pick anything that is generally an employee role. I really recommend doing an employee role because things are getting so hard with legislation and changes and STP and STP2, and all this legislation is changing. So we need to know more, and I believe the TPB is looking at increasing our minimum education to a diploma as well. I know it's been on the cards for a while, so that's something that you will need to look into and consider as a possibility that you might need that by the time you go for your BAS agent registration. So what to expect? Clients, finding clients can be the hardest thing that you will face if you're going to run your own business. It is, once you get started, it's okay because you're getting referrals. But initially, when you're going through and trying to find your first client, it can be a difficult start. So some ways to find them, I find networking. There's a great networking site called meetup.com, and you can meet up with a lot of business owners if you pick the right group. especially if they don't have a bookkeeper as part of their network, then they might jump on the chance to work with you. But don't discount anyone if they're asking you about your business or asking you about bookkeeping. Then have a chat with them, because a lot of the clients I found were actually through friends of the people I networked with. And that's how they came to me. They're like, oh, I know a friend who needs you. You're fantastic. I'll send them through. But sometimes they don't tell you that they've got a friend, and it's, and you think it's going nowhere, and then all of a sudden they pop up, they ring you, they text you or whatever and say, hey, can we have a meeting? Facebook, obviously, a lot of the business sites are becoming overrun with bookkeepers. So every time that someone puts out a job, I can guarantee you there's going to be 100 replies. So that's a tough gig. Your website and SEO is a really good way to go if you can afford it. Now, SEO, sometimes, you're looking at, just to get the right words, you're looking at 1,500 to $5,000 a month for SEO. So you really, really want to make sure that you're 100% across everything you need to be. If you're going to go that way with a website, make sure it's professional, make sure you get the right people doing SEO, because if a backyard person's doing it, then half the time they don't get it right. I've seen it time and time again. So get the professionals. And social media can be fantastic in a lot of ways. But obviously we're a bit saturated at the moment with bookkeepers and accountants. So if you want to put up a page, keep it mostly for information about what's changing, connect yourself with, I follow like the ATO and Fair Work and all that on Facebook, and I'll often share directly from them, so that people get the information from the horse's mouth, so to speak, through anyone who's following you and not following the ATO or Fair Work. I don't do it a lot at the moment, and it's a bit too overwhelming at the moment. There's a lot happening in my life, and we don't need clients. We've got plenty. So the expectation to work for yourself straight out of qualification is, it's possible using ABN and using their BAS services. But I really do recommend that you work under somebody, a bookkeeper, preferably, rather than an accountant, because we do have different skill sets, both needed, absolutely, both work together, fantastic. But a bookkeeper really looks at the nitty gritty and everything, really, that makes up all of the information that the accountant uses. So we are we're the first step. We're the first step on the ladder to getting, their books done up to their returns. So we have a lot of deadlines, and they're constant. They're relentless. We have a deadline pretty much every month. We have, super is due, TPARs are due, STP, finalization, end of financial year, all of those things come into play. Plus, of course, your ones for, say, your monthly IASs, your quarterly BASs, some clients want monthly superannuation, some want it quarterly. So there's all sorts of deadlines that we have. And one of those things that you need to do when you run your business is make sure that you're organized, and make sure that you know what deadlines need to be met, and when they, and make sure that you've got the time and the effort to be able to meet those deadlines, because they're really important. So as I said, there is heaps of support available from the ATO website and tax practitioners website, obviously the support groups, and I'll just show you my website, and then you can ask me any questions that are on your mind, and I can help you there. So this is my learn section of my website. Again, okay. So in there, obviously, I've got all the retreats that are coming up. Now the retreats are ideal for starting a business, because I go through your business plan, we do your cash flow, your budgets, but we also look at, taking on clients and those kind of things. So I'll just open it up. This one's the Tassie one. They've all got the same content, so there's no problem there. I hate when it does that. So pricing, so your rates and things like that. The industry rates at the moment are between, if you're a non-registered registered bookkeeper, then you are looking at between 40 and 65 an hour. If you're a registered BAS agent with minimal experience, minimum is 65 an hour, right? You can add GST on top of that if you want, if you're registered, of course. But 65 is the minimum, and BAS agents go anywhere up to $200 an hour. So depending on our forte. So onboarding clients. So I give you all the templates to help you sign up clients and the information that you need. This is also, most of this is already on my website, so you can purchase it as a tutorial, as a separate thing. Social media and marketing. So I'm going to upgrade that one because that needs a bit of an update. Workflow management, so the tools that you can use so that you keep on top of your deadlines and everything like that. We'll look at that, and your business plan. And obviously I'm there to coach you and to help you through not only those topics, but anything that comes up. Like, we have major conversations, and in the past we've delved into a lot of different areas, which is always fun, especially over a couple of glasses of wine. So as I said, most of my website has like some articles and networks and links and things like that that you can utilize to find things that you may need. And I'm just trying to open this. So we have a question. Yep. If you are an employee and want to register to be a BAS agent for the employer, do you still need your own PI? Yes, you do still need your own PI, because when we register, it is a requirement as a registered BAS agent to have our own PI, because you're registering as an individual. You're not registering under the company's name. So then I've got like Xero tutorial, which is free, common errors in bookkeeping, chart of accounts, free. I can build you a Trello board for all your task list as well, and that's pretty basic. Your branding, social media marketing, exit strategy, you guys won't need that for a while. End of financial year and balancing to the balance sheet. So just to help you understand what needs to happen at end of financial year, and you can do it every quarter, which I really recommend. It'll keep you on top. Crisis plan. So what happens to you? Being a sole trader, what happens to me if I fall over and I need to be hospitalized for a month? What happens to my clients? So those kind of crisis plans where you've got to figure out, well, who am I going to connect with and help? If anything happens to them, I can access their clients, let them know what's happened, and guide. It's just a guide, basically. What happens to me, then what happens to the clients. Client onboarding, so that's with the manual as well. So that comes with a Excel spreadsheet to help you create a client manual, which is really important, and it also gives you the information that you need to get from the client when you're talking to them. So again, introductory business budgeting and cash flows, coaching, hourly coaching with me if you wanted that, and I only do it per every hour, like just for an hour. So I'm not a lock-in contract or anything like that. It's use me for an hour and we sort out all the issues that you may have, and then off you go, and you come back when you need me. So I do have this a similar video up here for introduction to bookkeeping as well. Trello, business advisory, one-on-one workshop. That one is a free checklist for the first client meeting. And then you've just got the student to business owner part 1 and part 2. Some of these are paid for, some are not, like the contact letters to the accountant. That's a freebie. So is the 3 accounting softwares. I think the goals template as well. But you pay for the fix it workshop and these kind of things. So that's my website. As I said, you've got a whole heap of stuff in here, but it is going to grow next year. So that's my plan. Anyway, questions?
I have a question, or I have a series of questions, if that's okay. So I'm going to strip it back down to a little bit more basic, if that's okay with you, Kelly. I know
Yeah.
that obviously you've been in the business for a really long time. You have to excuse me. I'm kind of doing a bit of tire kicking here. So a bit of reference into me. I was a financial administrator for around 7 years, mostly within financial planning, though, so slightly off to the side.
Yep.
I'm looking at retraining as a bookkeeper.
Mhm.
But in the interim, I have been doing a bit of freelancing in an administrative capacity.
Yep.
So I'm kind of looking at how those worlds can potentially collide. So in
Mhm.
terms of my questions, I'm just wondering the basics. So if you were to be providing the service of financial administration, but nothing to do with payroll, nothing to do with superannuation, nothing to do with GST at all. It's just more kind of accounts receivable, accounts payable, that sort of thing. You don't technically need to be registered for those things.
Yes, you do.
Yes. Okay. So sorry, I've obviously missed something along the
Okay.
lines.
So when it comes to coding a transaction, so if you got a bill from Vic Roads or a bill from insurance where they've got split GST and you don't have it set in your chart of accounts as registration, no GST, registration GST, then you can't code it between the two, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
only
okay.
a
So if they're
portion
not a, yeah, sorry,
of
carry on.
that is actually claimable and you can't section that out.
Yeah. So if they're not registered for GST, if they're a
No
sole
problem.
trader, for example,
Yep,
that's
no problem.
absolutely
You can
fine.
do
Okay.
everything.
Yeah. So the kind of people that I do a bit of administration for, generally they're sole traders. They're not registered for GST. They earn under 75,000
Yep,
through their ABN.
yep.
They don't have any employees. They don't need to pay superannuation, anything like that.
Yeah, perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
You've just got
Okay.
to be aware that that will not count towards your BAS agent registration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I understand that.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much.
No worries.
Got a question too, Kelly.
Sure, Robin.
I'm currently working for someone and doing all the payroll and all the bookkeeping for them. And I've just started studying the Cert 4 in accounting and bookkeeping. How does that count towards my hours, and what does supervision look like, or a supervisor look like?
Okay, so you're employed?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So your employer can sign off on your hours if you are doing things like payroll, like GST allocations, and splitting them up and all those kind of things. If you're doing the reporting for the BAS, getting it ready and all those kind of things, your employer can sign off on the hours that you have done as an employee.
Okay. And is there a form that needs to be recorded in, or is it like, like I
Yeah, the
generally
tax
work, say, 20
practitioners
hours a
board.
week, and
Yeah, the tax practitioners board have a template that you can use.
Yep.
I'm not sure where it is because they've changed everything on their website, but there is a template available from them which will help you, section out how much you've done in general. The way I worked it out for my employees, being that we're a bookkeeping practice and everything they touch is GST or, payroll related. So it was easy enough to go, well, they've worked 38 hours a week. So therefore, they'll be ready for their BAS agent license in 6 months. So it's just a case of working out of the 20 hours a week that you may do is, okay, well, only 15% of that is calculating GST or, checking over supplier invoices and making sure that GST is correct. And then I've got a couple of hours doing payroll every week or every fortnight, so you kind of culminate it into an estimate and then you can fill it in that way. So they're not going to see your actual log. That's more for you, but it's when you fill out the form, it really helps to say, well, based on this and this is how many hours I've done.
cool. All right, thank you.
No worries. Chat room. Working as a contractor, do you have any ideas on how we gain our hours for our certification? Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can as a contractor, you have to be supervised, whether it be ABN BAS or a registered BAS agent. You need to, the clients that you work with obviously have to be registered for GST. If you're working with the ABN BAS, you won't be able to do payroll. So that'll be out. But you'll need to track your hours of how many hours you work for a client being under supervision, and how long that takes you to do, you know, all of the GST BAS services. And then of course, when you put through like if you're using ABN BAS, you'll put through all the reports and they'll tell you yay or nay or what else they need to see. And they, because you've got all your hours with them, they'll say, yes, we can verify that we've been doing, this person's been doing ABN BAS for this period. I'm not quite sure how that works exactly. I just know that a lot of people have used ABN BAS to get their BAS agent registration. Any other ideas? Otherwise, you can volunteer for a not-for-profit. You can find a client that the accountant will supervise your hours. They're a little hard to come by. Accountants don't really like to do that. Yeah, so there's a few ways of doing it. As I said early in the piece, I am looking at doing mentoring and supervision next year, for people that have clients or you know, taking on clients and need supervision really quickly. I'll look at doing that. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of ways as a contractor that you can get experience without taking on clients and using ABN BAS basically. There is another option though. What's her name? Sharon does. Let me see if I can find Shabara. Where are you? I bet you I've got the name spelled wrong. Accounting, there we are. Now, where would she have put Sharon? Sharon's got a service that you can use for. Now, I don't think she's taking on people at the moment, but I know that she has a program that she runs, and she can take you on as where are we? I know that she's got it here somewhere. I can't remember where she put it though. But I know that she does some services for bookkeepers. Here we go. The Sharborough project. She takes on people to mentor and supervise as well. And she's got a whole big program that she actually runs you through. So so this is her. So take note of her. I don't think she's taking on people at the moment. I think the program is full, but you can certainly use her services, and she will, you know, support you in everything. So she covers payroll services and BAS services and bookkeeping and everything. So that's one option for you, is to go through her when she announces her program is open again next year. But you can always inquire with her and go on the waiting list. So that wouldn't hurt either. So as you can see, register for a consultation. So that's one option apart from ABN BAS. Another option for you, oh Jesus, okay, that was wrong. That was not what I was looking for. Here we go. My ABBS. So let's go in there. So they also you can join their team. So they also do supervision and things like that, which can help you build your practice. But you, in this case, you would go under the ABBS banner. It's not a franchise, and they do train you in a lot of things. Other options are joining a franchise. It's an expensive option, but in some cases they will support you in your training, and support you in your growing of your business, your marketing, your technical skills, and they will supervise you. So there is a whole range of them available to you. I did articles several years ago on many of them, like Jim's Bookkeeping and First Class Accounting, and First Class are probably the better one out of all of them, for building up bookkeepers, especially once you've got your Cert 4. Like, they're fantastic support, and they've got a great team as well. So, you know, there's a lot of different avenues for you. You've just got to know where to look. I hope that helps. You're welcome. All right, do we have any other questions? I can tell you once you get to 60 clients and you've only got 2 staff members, it's hectic. Yeah, the more you build your practice, the more headaches you do have. So keeping it small is probably a really good thing, especially at the beginning, but don't be afraid to grow if that's what you want to do as well. But just make sure that that's what you want to do. Okay, so just got a few more people coming in. So we're just up to question time if anybody's looking for I know you've probably missed most of the presentation, but you can certainly, as I said, I am recording this, so don't be afraid to, I'll send it all through. Hi, do you have a question? No. Do we have any questions? All right, well, if we don't have any questions, then I might wrap it up there. But yeah, if you feel like you need to talk about anything, or you forgot to ask a question, or if you want any further background or links or anything like that, please do let me know. As you can see, our retreats are coming up in next year, ideal for you guys that want to kick off and start your own business. So and yeah, I'm trying to get to every state, so we'll see how we go. But you've got the option of no accommodation, or you've got the option of staying in the share house with us, which can be a lot of fun. So yeah, anyway, I will leave it there. And as I said, you can do the one-on-one coaching with me if you just need me for an hour just to pick my brains about something. I'm absolutely up for that. And yeah, I guess I'll leave it there if nobody else has any questions. Okay.
Thank you. That was really good.
Thank
You're-
you.
You're welcome, everyone. I'll send you the recording soon, so you've got it all there.
Thank you.
All right, take care.